Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video, I wanted to talk about why Genshin Impact needs a skip button. It's actually crazy to me how this has to be a debate to begin with, because this shouldn't be a debate at all. This shouldn't be a topic that people, this shouldn't be a controversial topic. It shouldn't, because it's just common sense. But unfortunately, this is the Genshin Impact community we're talking about. There are no brain cells in this community. So we have this Reddit over here. Now, this Redditor is actually base, really base Redditor, and the responses are actually pretty good. This was 3 months ago, but just because this was 3 months ago doesn't mean that it's still not valid. It will always be valid. This argument as to why the game needs a skip button, it will always be valid, all the time. So let's go ahead and read it. He says, should there be a skip button? I frequently have this conversation with my friend. Should there be a skip dialogue button? Imagine how much easier it would be if there was an option to skip through uninteresting and time-consuming dialogue. I understand there's some dialogue you have to sit through, like Archon Quest, but it'd be so much more convenient if there was an option to skip through story and world quest dialogue. The game is meant to have story, but a lot of players, myself included, aren't really interested in most of the dialogue. Instead, we sit there and spam the next button. I play for the world exploration characters in Archon Quest, so to me, there is a lot of boring and unnecessary dialogue that I wish I could skip. What do you guys think? Now, the number one arguments that a lot of Genshin shills would bring up in this topic is that the reason why the game doesn't have a skip button is because it is a story-based game and it is a story-driven game. So therefore, them adding a skip button pretty much, deletes the entire purpose of the game. Well, if you're going to use that argument and say that it is a story-based game, it is a story-driven game, then how come games like Wuthering Waves, which is a story-based, I wouldn't say a story-based game, but using your logic, you saying that Genshin Impact is a story-based game, when a lot of you guys would claim that Wuthering Waves is a copy of Genshin Impact. All right, so if you're going to use that logic, then Wuthering Waves is also a story-based game. So how come that game has a skip button? How come players are always how come players have the option to use the skip button whenever they want? We just had version 2.0 drop in Wuthering Waves. Everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, but majority of the Wuthering Waves community, they enjoyed the 2.0 story quest. But the skip button was always available. The skip button was always there, and that's how it should be. So if you're using the argument that Genshin Impact is a story-based game and the game is all about the story, do yourself a favor. Go on Google, search up what is the genre for Genshin Impact, and you're going to have two results: adventure game, action role-playing game. I don't see story involved. I don't see story-based. I don't see any of that for the genre. I wonder why. The reason why is because you have the story, right? But you have artifacts to grind for. You have materials. You have Spiral Abyss, right? You have combat. You have all these things going on. But to say that 90% of the game, not even 90%, these people claim that the entire game is just story. That's it. The game is story. If the game is just story, then why is it a video game? Why is it a video game if it's just story? They might as well just make a movie. They might as well just make Genshin Impact a show if you claim it to just be story. If the game is only about the story, then why are you leveling up your characters to become stronger? Why are you leveling up your weapons? Why do people summon for meta characters, right? Why were there so many videos talking about Bennett being meta? Why are you watching content creators who are making guides talking about best team comps, best builds, best weapons, team rotations? Why are you putting in so much effort into the adventure and action role-playing aspect of the game if it's only about the story? You see, these people who claim that the game is only about the story, their actions contradict their statement. And once again, if you love Genshin Impact only for the story, there is nothing wrong with that. I'm only making this point for the people. I'm only saying this so that people can understand, the people who don't want a skip button, they can understand that them not wanting a skip button is just selfish behavior. It's simply selfish, because them implementing a skip button doesn't affect you. It just doesn't affect you. If you like, and once again, if you claim that the game is only about the story, then don't level up the characters. Just run around the map and only play the story, right? Since you claim that the game is only about the story, don't fight monsters, don't do Spiral Abyss, don't grind for talent materials, don't grind for weapon materials, Don't try to use team comps. Don't do any of that. Only play the game for the story. That's what you claim. That's the whole purpose of the game. It's just for the story. And the reason why I'm being sarcastic about this is because I'm proving a point as of to why these people just sound absolutely ridiculous when they make this argument. It's like, you only want people to play the game in one way and one way only, the story, and that's it. If they play the game for the combat, oh, you're playing the game wrong. You're supposed to only play it for the story. Give me a break, man. Now I have a question for every player, Genshin player, who wants to defend as of to why the game doesn't have a skip button and why it shouldn't have a skip button. When you go claim your rewards from Catherine, right? Your daily commission rewards.
Ad Astra Abyssosk. Welcome to the Adventurers Guild.
And when she says Ad Astra Abyssosk, welcome to the Adventurers Guild, blah, 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 blah. Do you let her finish her sentence, or do you instantly skip that part? Like, do you mash the next button because you don't want to say that for like the 1,000th time? If you say that you don't skip that part, you are a fucking liar. Or when you're trying to go to the alchemy table, but you accidentally press the option to talk to Timaeus and there's a whole bunch of yapping, you think players should not have the right to skip that? You think players should listen to the same shit over and over again when they accidentally talk to Timaeus? Now, there's another person who's pretty much defending the reason why they shouldn't add a skip button in the game, and let's read it. It says, the devs put a lot of time and love into their story. They are very vocally passionate about it, the story element, so skipping it so you can get your rewards is essentially what they don't want. To them, it's them taking all this time and energy and getting spat in their face for a few primos. It's insulting to them as developers and storytellers. It's really funny to me how this person thinks that them not adding a skip button is gonna magically make everybody appreciate the story. It's gonna magically make everybody enjoy the story. Sorry to break it to you, but people are literally mashing the next button over and over again because they don't care about the unnecessary dialogue. That's the reason why a lot of people are asking for the skip button, because we don't care. Some people want to play the game, or somebody just want to play the game for combat, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And them adding a skip button, that doesn't restrict you from enjoying the story. Realize the difference between both arguments, right? And both sides. One side, they're like, oh, we don't want the skip button because it is a story game and you should appreciate the story. Meanwhile, you look at the other side, their argument is, okay, they should add a skip button because some people actually don't care about the story. If you appreciate the story and if you love the story, then do your thing. No one is going to stop you for that. But let us players who don't care about the story, let us skip through it and actually enjoy the game and actually play the game. Realize how, for one side, they're thinking about themselves and they're also thinking about the people who don't want the skip button. And for the other side, they're only thinking about themselves. They're like, we don't want to skip button because we just simply don't want it. And you guys should feel the same way as us. What we prefer in the game, you guys should also prefer the same exact thing. Your preference should match my preference. If I enjoy the story, you should enjoy it. If the game is a story game like I claim it is, even though there's literally zero evidence to prove that it is a story-based game, after you literally search it up on Google, what is the genre of Genshin Impact, and it says adventure game and action role-playing game. You have no evidence to prove that it is only a story game, right? But you still want players to enjoy the story because you just simply want them to. I'm sorry, bro, that's not how it works. Everybody has their own preference when it comes to playing a video game. I would completely understand if Genshin Impact was a story novel game. Like if I were to go on Google right now and search up the genre of Genshin Impact and it literally just said story only, then I would completely understand your argument. I would understand it, right? If I open up the game, there is no combat, right? No bosses, no artifacts, no Spiral Abyss. If there was none of that in the game and it was just a story, then I would agree with your argument that there shouldn't be a skip button. But the fact that there is gameplay, the fact that there is combat, the fact that there are bosses in the game, artifacts, Spiral Abyss, why the fuck is there not a skip button? And I also asked this in ChatGPT, what are the different aspects in an open world game? Keep in mind, everybody has their own preference when it comes to playing a video game. Now, Genshin Impact is an open world game. And these people claim that, you know, the game is all about the story. Look how many aspects there are when it comes to an open world game. All of these aspects create Genshin Impact. The fact that these people think that the story is the only thing that makes Genshin Impact is just mind-numbing to me, because you have characters, you have exploration, you have world design, right? You have economy and resources, immersion and atmosphere, player tools, multiplayer and co-op. Some people will only play the game for co-op. Some people will only play the game to summon for characters. Some people will only play the game for the combat. Everybody has their own fucking experience. To force every single player to focus on one aspect in the game is stupid. So once again, there should be zero arguments as of to why Genshin Impact needs a skip button. It doesn't affect you. You get to play the game the way you want to play it. If you want to play the game for the story, do your thing. No one is going to judge you for that. Do your thing. But don't sit here and try to gatekeep the game and prevent players from enjoying the game because, oh, they should appreciate the story like you do. That's just selfish. It's simply selfish. You don't want people to enjoy the game the way they want to enjoy it. You want to force your preference on other players. You want them to appreciate the story like you do, but they just don't care. We don't care about the yip yapping. We don't care. We want to play the fucking game. And this right here is a great response, a great comment. This person said, should there be a skip button? Yes. Would I use it? No. So this player loves the story, but they agreed that there should always be an option. They said, I think having an option is always a good idea. People who don't care about the story won't suddenly care just because they can't skip. All they're going to do is smash the button anyways. Thank you. That's literally what I just said. People are just going to mash the next button. So which one would you prefer? Would you prefer players who are going to mash the next button for like 3 hours and then they say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm just going to leave the game. Or would you prefer players who have the option to skip the story if they're not interested, but continue to play the game because they have the opportunity to enjoy the game their way? Which one would you prefer? I would prefer players who have the option to skip it and still enjoy the game versus players who don't have that option. They're forced to dissect the story and they're pretty much boring themselves out because they don't enjoy it and therefore they leave the game. And that's like another thing I don't understand from these Genshin shields. It's like they love the game so much, but at the same time, it's like the way that they're handling this whole skip button situation, it's not benefiting you guys at all. It's not benefiting the game. It just shows how much the devs are lacking when it comes to listening to the community, listening to what players actually want. And you guys are proving our point. Some players simply want to have a skip button, but instead of you guys saying, you know what, you should feel the right to want a skip button. You should feel free to want something in the game because you have your own preference. The fact that you guys are not saying that, you guys are like, no, you need to enjoy the story like I'm enjoying the story. It is giving gatekeeping energy, bro. That's what it's giving me. Gatekeeping energy. Last comment we're gonna read here. There is literally no reason not to have it. If you don't want to use it, then you don't use it. If you want to use it, then you freaking use it. It's that simple. It's the wildest thing that this feels like the only game where the fan base actually has to ask, especially when it's literally players telling other players how they're supposed to play the game when there should have always been a choice. No skip button literally turns people off of the game, so I don't get why they won't implement it. Like I said, gatekeeping energy. The players who don't want a skip button are gatekeepers. They want to force their preference, they want to force their playstyle to other players, and it's just weird to me. It's really weird. It's honestly weird. And these are the same people who say, oh, you know, you shouldn't attack people who love Genshin Impact. Keep in mind, I never attack anybody who loves the game. I literally said it over and over again. If you love Genshin Impact, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you loving Genshin Impact. Me personally, the game is freaking dog shit. But if you like the game, by all means, go ahead. But at the same time, you can't sit here and force your preference to say, yeah, the reason why the game shouldn't have a skip button is because I said so. That's such a shitty mindset. And you guys know what's funny to me. these story lovers, and this doesn't go to every single story lover, this goes to the story lovers who want to gatekeep preferences. They want to gatekeep everybody's experience in the game, and everybody should just enjoy the game based off of the story. This is for those people. How would you guys feel if everybody wanted the archive system removed from the game? How would you guys feel if we said, you know what, since we don't care about the story, we want the devs to remove the archive system, because the game isn't story based, it's action RPG, it's an adventure game. So the devs should completely remove the archive system and not give players the opportunity to read the story word for word. How would you guys feel? I want to see y'all's response in the comment section down below if I have any story lover. How would you guys feel if we wanted the devs to remove that option for you guys? That's the same way we feel when you guys are sitting here saying that, oh, the game shouldn't add a skip button because it's all about the story. That's exactly what you guys are doing. You guys are doing the same exact thing, forcing your preference on other players and making it seem as if there are no aspects, there are not multiple aspects that creates Genshin Impact. It's just one thing and one thing only, which is the story. And I also wanted to roll back on this person's comment right here, you know, just to prove another point, when they said that, you know, if they add a skip button, then people are going to skip the story, and that's going to hurt the devs' feelings because they put a lot of time and effort into the story. Well, you can use this statement for every single aspect of the game. Keep in mind, guys, these people think that the story is the only aspect of the game and everything else just doesn't matter. So using your comment, I can use this and apply to every other aspect in Genshin Impact. We got TCG. The devs make TCG, they put a lot of effort into TCG, but nobody plays it. How do you think that makes them feel? We have Spiral Abyss. A lot of people don't play Spiral Abyss. How do you think that makes the devs feel? If they were to release a character and nobody summons for that character, let's say Siegewing, for example, right? I'm just going to make a scenario. They release Siegewing and nobody summons for the character. How do you think that makes the devs feel? No, after they put their blood, their sweat, their tears into making a character, right? They created this character, made their kit, just for nobody to summon for the character. Proves my point once again that these people are blind, that there are multiple aspects that make Genshin Impact. Characters, co-op. If nobody uses co-op, how do you think that will make them feel? Like the fact that she only applied this to the story, this argument, it only applies to the story. Everything else, nah. The devs don't care about that. It's just the story. That's all they care about, right? It's just the story. This is the only aspect that matters. Just the story. Holy gatekeeping, man. So let me go ahead and end this video with a nuclear bomb for all the people, for all the players who don't want to skip button in this game. Let me drop this bomb on y'all. If you want a action RPG game to only focus on story lovers, you lack the ability to comprehend broader perspectives. Therefore, you are the reason why the game is not going to reach its full potential. Don't force your preference on players who want a skip button. Don't force your preference. If you want to enjoy the game for what it is, do your thing. But if players want to skip the story to do what they got to do to play the game, let them be. What they're doing doesn't affect you, and what you're doing doesn't affect us. So mind your own fucking business, play the story, and shut the fuck up.